Okay, YouTube, it is Sunday morning, May 20th. This is part 2 of the sandblaster project. Show you what little I got done. Got those 1/4" plates welded on for the wheels that I was talking about in the last video. Pretty sure I mentioned that. And we started making the bottom. Yeah, no, that's not much to get done in a whole week's time, but a whole week's time to me is like 1 or 2 hours per day. I had to work another Saturday, and I got a 1-hour notice on Friday afternoon on that, just like they always do. In typical, I work for a place called NTWorks, N-T-H, and that's what I call typical NTWorks fashion. The whole do as I say, not as I do type attitude. These bosses expect you to work 6-7 days a week, yet they're off every weekend, enjoying their lives. And let's see, and after I got off work, see, I had to go in yesterday at 4 a.m. instead of the regular 6 a.m. And I couldn't go to sleep early enough to get a decent night's sleep, so after that the day was over with, I came home and insurance adjusters came by to check out my hail damage. That was 3 or 4 hours of my time. So after all that, about all I did yesterday, I already had this tack welded on. I just welded it all up solid, then I just went in, took a shower, and tried to fall asleep. And let's see, today I'm expected to be at a cookout, which was planned for me without my consent, and last second notice on that. So there will be some interruptions today, and probably an argument because of my sisters not really showing any concern for me not having time to do what I want and just wanting a whole day to myself in the garage. When you're in a family that has no interest in drag racing and restoring cars and building stuff like this, it's really hard to get along with them because they just don't understand and expect you to, you know, set all your stuff aside so you can just go sit and do nothing and talk about things that you don't really have an interest in. And I'm getting fed up with my time being planned by other people. Just a little frustrated with all that. But what I'm going to do, I'm going to set this camera down on a tripod and try to explain how I went about figuring this bottom piece, figuring out what size to cut, where to cut it, how to bend it, and all that. I wanted to do a step-by-step, but there just wasn't any time. Okay, let me pause the camera, set this tripod down, and hopefully I can give you a decent explanation of how I went about doing this bottom and how I'm going to finish it. Stay tuned. Okay, we're back. Sit down here and hopefully show you how I did this. Okay, before I welded all this on or even cut it out, first thing I did, took this. This is a handy little tool. Actually, it's another cheap Harbor Freight piece of junk, but I don't use it that often, so it'll probably last. It is handy. It has a digital angle finder, which changes as you move this, and it's also a bubble level. Goes this way, and it works this side, works that way. So it's really a decent little tool. I probably shouldn't call it junk, but I'm not much into buying cheap tools. I like to buy American-made stuff. But I do always catch myself going to Harbor Freight because sometimes they're the only people open on Sundays and stuff like that. Also, see, I have a little hole I need to weld up there. I think it's only one. I burnt through my galvanized metal a little bit. Okay, what I did to figure out how big of a piece I need to cut first. Of course, first the easy part, I just measured. See, we got a 1x1 square tubing here. I measured across, of course, 44 1/4. That's easy enough to figure out. 44 1/4 long. And to figure out this piece, and I really wanted to make it one piece just because I like to do as little welding as possible, which this didn't save me that much welding because I still got to make pieces and weld here, here, and here. But all this saving was this, but I just like to make stuff like that in few pieces as possible. But anyway, I'm getting off what I was saying here. What I did was I just took this and eyeballed the angle up to about the edge of the opening I had cut out in the bottom. And I got 66.6 degrees. That is the angle, you know, that both these sides are bent at. Of course, there's also some confusion. I can't lay this down here square. Yeah, I can. Also confusion here. Now you see if you no, I can't. I gotta do it that way. If you were to go off of the angle that this is with that, okay, it's actually it says 122, which actually I got to bend it this way. Okay, it says 229. Never mind. If you ever had to work with angles, you know what I'm talking about. Okay, so, okay, actually, square 90 is square. This thing doesn't read like it should. It's not like an actual protractor, really. 90 degrees is square. And it says 124, 90, 100, 110, 120. So actually, that's actually a 15-degree angle from here to here. That's what I'm trying to say. 90 degrees minus 124 degrees is 15 degrees. That was what I was trying to say. Actually, I would like a protractor that would read from 0 to 90 on one end. Yeah, this thing just doesn't read the way I want it to. Anyway, I'm getting off subject. Like I said, we got about a 67-degree angle that way. And what I did, I just kind of positioned that about where my piece would be. And I just took my tape measure and eyeballed up what I think would be deep enough. And I come up with about 12 inches. So you got 12 inches plus another 12 inches. And if you measure at the 12-inch point, meaning right about here, whether you're 12-inch stop, you're getting about 6 inches. So that's 12 plus 6 is 31 inches, which means this piece had to be cut out 31 inches. 12, 12, and 6. Hope that makes sense. It got confusing because of this digital angle level, as they call it. It doesn't read the way I like them to read. Anyway, that's how I measured that. And when I scribed the line to cut these out, I had a flat piece, remember? After I cut out my flat piece, 44 1/4 by 31, I laid out a 6 by 6 square in the center of this, which all I had to do is find the center of the 44 1/4 inch length, right about here, and then I had to find the center of the 31 inch length, which is 15 1/2. So I scribed me a little X in the center, and I just laid out a line this way and this way. And then, of course, my piece is 4 by 4, or 6 by 6, I'm sorry. So I went 3 inches off the center line, scribed it here, scribed it there, and laid me a line. There's my edge to that. Did it this way, and also did it off the center line this way. And then I had my center and a little 6 by 6 square laid out. And to cut these, what I did was, I just took me a straight edge, laid it on the corner of the square that I drawed out or scratched out, and also aligned my straight edge with the corner of my actual piece that I'd sawed out, and just scribed the line. Then I cut it here, here, and here on both sides. And to cut it, I think I mentioned it in my other video on this, I was going to try to use a skill saw with some of these 7-inch cutoff blades. That doesn't work very well. I end up using the good old-fashioned angle grinder or hand grinder. This is supposed to take 4-inch wheels. I had 7-inch wheels, which is kind of dangerous. It's close to your fingers. If you're going to do that, I don't recommend doing it, but be very, very careful if you have to do it. It's not a good thing to do. But I'm going to eventually get me a plasma cutter. But all the dangerous stuff aside, this does make pretty nice cuts. As you can see, it cuts good and straight. Actually, if you had like a grinder like this that is meant to take 7-inch wheels, if you can find one that isn't so heavy and bulky, where you can kind of get some control of your cuts, that would be better. I have a grinder buffer that I need to, it's got a wheel stuck on it. Someone give it, well actually it used to be my dad's, went over and got some of that stuff when he passed away. and it's got a wheel that's stuck on it, and I need to get that device. I just never got around to getting the nut loose. But I'm rambling about other stuff. So that's what we got done. That's how I laid that out. What I'm going to do next, I've already scratched one line. I tried to do a little bit while the insurance adjusters were here. I just scratched me a line like this, and all I did was, this is a piece I cut out of here, by the way. All I did was lay this down here like it. Kind of eyeballed it up straight. Doesn't have to be perfect. And I scratched me a line under here. And I'm just going to make that one cut first. Then I'll be able to lay this down in here with my edges flush. And then I'll scratch the other line here. Cut it out. And of course I'm going to have a gap here. Whenever you cut a piece out of a piece like that and then you bend it all, it changes the dimensions. And I'll just make another piece right here. So I will have to weld here, 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 and on the sides. Okay, I'm going to quit talking. Try to get a little work done. Hopefully I won't get any interruptions and get into an argument. Stay tuned. We'll try to get a little work done today. Okay, just wanted to show you a quick little tip. Maybe some of you already know how to do this, or a better way, but just to show you how I go about holding a piece in place before I tack weld it in. You don't have to position it perfectly sometimes if you're just going to tack weld it, especially on thinner sheet metal like this that you can push up with your hands, meaning getting everything flush. But I like to use magnets. As you can see, I got these magnets stuck to the surface, and then the surface of this piece doesn't let it fall below that. And what I'll do, I'll put a tack weld probably here and here, because that's where the metal is most flush, the edges are most flush with each other. And up here it feels pretty flush. I'll put a tack there, and then I'll see that's still a little bit below it, but once I had those tack weld in those three places up there, I'm not sure if I had the camera pointing in the right direction. I got the camera on the tripod, that's why I'm holding it crooked and everything. Tripod's handy for certain things and it's awkward in other ways. But anyway, like I said, it's flush up here, not here, so I'm going to tack here and the other two places down the bottom I just showed you. Then I can take all my magnets off and I can tap that up or push it up, then tack weld it on. Okay, that's just what I wanted to show. Stay tuned. Well, that didn't work very well, did it? That's okay, it popped it above it. That'll be good enough. What I was doing with the screwdriver was I was trying to, the piece didn't want to come up past this, it was kind of stuck in there. And I just wanted to hold it flush, which my screwdriver was holding flush. As soon as I welded it, it popped out. But this piece also popped above this piece, which is what I wanted. So now I can just tack it on. And if there's any edges that are a little high, you can always melt it down with the welder, or if you get a good weld, penetrating weld, you can grind it down flush. I'll be grinding this weld anyway. Alright, just wanted to show what I'm talking about. Maybe a really good experienced professional fabricator and welder could have had a perfect fit and all that, but I'm just some guy in a garage, but I get the job done. As you can see, it's a little higher here, but that doesn't matter. After I get more tack welds in place later, I can tap that down with a hammer. And there's a gap there. I know I didn't fit it perfectly, but with the MIG welder, you can fill that in. And once I grind it down, you'll never know. Just wanted to show that part of it. Stay tuned for more. I'm going to cut my other piece out. Just want to show a little something funny. Angel's trying to dig the china. Angel, don't go to China because there's a lot of cheap tools there. That's where they're all made. That's where they come from. Actually, she's probably after a mow. She's pretty good. She got a mow the other day. I know this isn't part of my video, but I like to show other stuff going on around when it's funny. I've seen her dig half the length of her body sometimes trying to get to stuff. Alright, back to work. pipe tap that size, so I got my hole just right where it screws in there. And I'm going to cut it off where it's flush on the other side. Another lesson to be learned from what I just did there. You need a handle on your drill when you're using a step drill that big. But you do what you got to do when you don't have everything you need and you want to get it done. Okay, that's all the bottom put together and welded up. I still need to clean all these welds off. Welded decent in some places and not so good in other places. Of course, what's really important is it's all sealed up, so no sand's going to come out of there when I start using this thing. Probably need to buy a new welder. I don't know, maybe it's just me. Like I said, I don't weld every day, so I'm not the best welder, but when you grind it down, it won't matter. And if you remember in my first video, I mentioned I was going to put a valve on there. That's what I welded that pipe fitting in there for. Got my big gas valve right here. It's still a little warm. I probably shouldn't try to screw it on. There we go. It's just going to go like that. And when I want to drain my sand, it's closed right now. Just open it up. Or take that off while it's still hot. Okay, I think I'm going to have a little break and let this cool down, and hopefully I'll get out here later today and get some welds ground down. Stay tuned. Okay, it's Monday afternoon now. See where I last left off on this video. I think I said I was going to take a break. That turned out to be the rest of the day. I was tired and hungry. Plus I hadn't been getting a lot of sleep. I mentioned all that before. Anyway, got all the welds ground down is what I did tonight. Something I wasn't looking forward to, but once you start, it doesn't take that long. It's just dirty work. You get a little warm and sweaty, and all the welding or grinding dust sticks to you. Something I don't really enjoy doing that much, but like I said, once you get started, it's something that goes quick and it's not as bad as you think. But just wanted to include this part of the video, show you what it looks like after the welds are ground off and cleaned up. Did some sanding too, cleaned the rust off these old legs, sanded these because like I said, I am going to paint it. I'll probably give it a couple coats of primer since it's bare metal. I don't know how well stuff here I don't know how well paint's going to stick to that. It should be etched, really, but since it's just a sandblaster, it should be okay. I notice it looks like my valve is off center a little bit. Grab a tape measure and see. It doesn't really matter, it's just that I try to put it in center. Sometimes that happens, I guess. It just looks that way. Let's see, well, yeah, it's off a little. Actually, I went 3 inches off of one side. And if you look at the bottom of that bend there, and I guess is what it is my flat is a little bit bigger than 6 inches. No big deal. Just wanted to point that out. And Angel grabbed something out of the garage. See if we can get it away from her. See what she's got. Or did you eat something you shouldn't be eating? Where is it? What did you... here's what she had. Grinding wheel. There you go. Yeah, real smart. You alright? She's choking on grass. She's eating... Yeah, she's got a piece of grass in her mouth. She's goofy. Goofy dog. Alright. That's all for Monday night. I will... Let's see, tomorrow and Wednesday... grass cutting and house cleaning unless it rains. So we'll continue this video on Thursday hopefully, and I guess I'll be flipping this thing back over and start mounting my glove kit that I bought and I showed you in the first video. After that, we got to plug a few holes, mount the light, get everything mounted up, and then we'll end up taking it back off and when we paint it. Hopefully this weekend, if I get a weekend, we can have this thing painted. Okay, I'm going to try to include that in all this video. Stay tuned.